Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Iqbal's Inspirations and Insights with Fahad Khan. In a beautiful poem in Bali Jibreel, Alama brings forward a very deep connection between knowing yourself, between training your khudi, and its connection with Tawheed, with the oneness of Allah, and the importance of that in our self-development. He starts out by saying, یہ پیام دے گئی ہے مجھے بعد صبح گاہی کہ خودی کے عارفوں کا ہے مقام پادشاہی. That the message that has been given to me through the morning breeze is that those who become knowers of khudi, those who become arif, those who have deeper insights into their own self, into their own strengths and weaknesses and deficiencies, their status is one of the status of kings and those who are leaders, those who are masters of this world. So, it's interesting. One thing that he's bringing out here is that morning, at the time of morning breeze, and the importance of waking up early in the morning and spending that time in reflection, in prayer, in reading Quran, which is something Allama used to do and something that is encouraged for us to do as well. And we even know through psychology literature that people who have a routine of waking up early tend to be more successful. So he's bringing that in and telling us that through his practice, through his time spent in early mornings, what he concluded was that if you want to master the world, if you want to be successful, then you have to become knowledgeable, become aware of your own self, of your khudi. And then he continues on and says, تیری زندگی اسی سے تیری آبرو اسی سے جو رہی خودی تو شاہی نہ رہی تو وسیاہی. So he's saying this khudi is not a joke, right? This isn't just something that you can ignore, because your life is through khudi, your respect is through khudi. And if the khudi maintains, then you have high status, shahi. But if it doesn't maintain, if you don't preserve your khudi, if you don't discipline, if you don't strengthen your khudi, then what you're left with is humiliation. Because what differentiates the human from animals is not just having a brain, right? But it's using that brain to make your life and the lives of others and this world a better place, right? So that's what he's alluding to. And then he says, نہ دیا نشان منزل مجھے اے حکیم تو نے مجھے کیا گلا ہو تجھ سے تو نہ رہ نشیں نہ راہی. So he's now talking to the wise people of today, the philosophers, right? And he says, unfortunately, O philosopher, you didn't give me any signs, any symptoms, any strategies of the path, right? Like the path towards self-perfection, towards self-development, the path towards divine vicegerency, right? You didn't tell me anything about it. But then he answers his own complaint and he says, I mean, why should I complain towards you or have any complaints towards you? Because you are neither living on this path nor you're traversing on it, right? Like the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path towards a higher self-development does not come through philosophy, right? The philosophers can ask questions and bring in a deeper thoughts, but this requires more than that. So he's saying, I have this complaint towards you, but how can I complain towards you? Because at the end of the day, you yourself don't know what the path is, and you don't know how to travel that path either. And then he says, میرے حلقۂ سخن میں ابھی زیر تربیت ہیں وہ گدا کے جانتے ہیں رہو رسم کجکلاہی. That in my gathering, in my poetic gathering, the gathering of poetry, people who listen to me and people who are with me, there are still people who are those that are under this training, they're being disciplined. These are the poor people, the lowly status people, but they know the ways and traditions of kajkulahi. Kajkulahi literally means to wear your hat tilted, but it alludes to live like a king, right? So they know the ways and traditions of it, although they seem like they're just simple people. And then he says, یہ معاملے ہیں نازک جو تیری رضا ہو تو کر کہ مجھے تو خوش نہ آیا یہ طریق خانقاہی. And here now he's talking to the typical like Sufis, right? So he's saying that these are very sensitive matters, right? And you do whatever makes you happy, whatever you're content with. But me, I am not satisfied with the ways of Khānqāhī, with the ways of this like monastic ways, right? Just kind of go into a building, do your zikr, don't worry about other people, just focus on yourself, and the knowledge or the connection that you make with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not something that does anything for the world, right? And it only confines you to hold yourself in a specific place and give up worldly means, right? So he said, I'm not okay with that type of lifestyle and that type of approach. And he's saying why? Because tu huma ka hai shikari, abhi ibtida hai teri, nahi maslihat se khali ye jahan murgumahi. He says like this kind of approach, basically what you're seeking is that you're trying to hunt huma. Huma is like a special bird that it's like a folklore kind of thing where whoever's under the shadow of this bird becomes the king. So he says you're trying to seek that status, and that's just the beginning, right? You're trying to come to a special place through some kind of a special practice or miracle, and that's just the beginning. What I'm talking about is the fact that this world has a very deeper meaning. The world of very typical generic birds and fish, no special birds, right? This world that Allah has created, it has very deeper meanings and understanding, and that's what I'm trying to come towards, and that's what I'm trying to point towards, and that's what's going to help us to strengthen our khudi. And then he finishes this beautiful poem with Tu Arab ho ya Ajam ho, tera la ilaha illa. That whether you're an Arab or you're an Ajam or like a non-Arab, your la ilaha illa. What's la ilaha illa? It's the negation, the part of our kalma tayyiba, right? That there is no one worthy of worship except. And he didn't finish. He didn't say illallah, right? Even that part, there's no one worthy of worship except. He's saying that part, lughat-e gharib, jab tak tera dil na de gawahi, right? These are just strange words for you and for I until your heart bears witness to it. So it's not enough that you just say these words, right? Your heart has to testify and hold witness to it. He's talking about everything previously he talked about, the fact that whatever we have, whether it's philosophy, whether it's Sufi practices, whatever status we're trying to achieve, ultimately comes to one fact, which is there's no one worthy of worship except Allah, right? So at the end of the day, if in my attempt to become a better person, my self-development may become my God, if in an attempt to be for example, a better husband or a better son or a better father, my status and me worrying about my status may become more important to me than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's possible, right? Some people worship their status. Some people worship their hard work, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't approve that. It's not something that we're supposed to do. That ultimately we worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything that we do should ideally take us towards that path. So even the path of self-development, even recognizing your khudi, training your khudi, is for the sake of connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not for the sake of just bettering yourself for the sake of bettering yourself. So he's bringing it full circle back and saying that everything that we do, including our path towards perfecting our khudi, has to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it has to come from the heart. It's not, those aren't just words that we say that there's no one worthy of worship. Everyone says that la ilaha illallah. But how many of us actually internalize and practice that? May Allah protect us and guide us. Ameen.